Can you hear me?
I keep having all these things that I'm supposed to click on.
You're good. Oh, you're sideways.
Okay.
How you doing?
How do I? Oh, good. I'm not sure how to change this.
Just turn your phone. Is it
Well,
your
if I turn
phone?
my phone, it won't be on the stand.
There you go.
Can't. Oh God, I'm gonna have to hold it the whole time then.
No, just set it on something. We have time. We have some time. I need to share it through the network. How's it going, everybody? We're good. Take your time. Set it up however you want. Sometimes I put mine on a pillow, but I don't know what you're looking at.
Let me try
This is our third. I'm excited to meet you, Esme. Avelyn.
Esme.
Esme. Avelyn.
All right.
What country are you in? What country?
I'm in the United States.
Oh, you are?
I'm in Wisconsin.
You're a cheesehead.
Oh, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a cheesehead. What part of Wisconsin?
Southeastern Wisconsin, down by Burlington. Do you know Lake Geneva?
Lake Geneva. Yeah. I used to work for a company. Our corporate office was in Woodstock.
Oh,
Woodstock,
okay.
Illinois. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not far from here.
No,
okay, I guess I'm gonna have to hold the phone the whole time.
You sure? Right. You want to sit in a
All
different
right, I think
chair?
I have it now. I think I got it.
You got it? Yeah. So welcome to having a conversation with Todd.
I'm glad to be here.
Scared for some reason, but... I thought, are you scared? That's okay. You know, that's where the opportunity for expansion is, right? We just bring our raw, real, authentic selves to the party. So I've seen you around
these shadows
for
far too long.
Right? Have you? Tell us about it.
I'm sorry?
Tell us about it.
I couldn't understand what you said.
Tell us about it. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I couldn't hear the first part. Tell you about what?
Oh,
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. When I said, tell us about, being in the background, it sounded like that's what you were saying, that you were, kind of standing back, holding back, or is that?
Well, just so much has been going on ever since I woke up, which was like 26 years ago. And I just had a lot of fear to deal with. And, and every time I would step out, it was like, no, come back in. You have more internal work to do. You have to complete this before you can step out. So I'm not sure what else to say about it. It's just been doing a lot of deep work on myself.
So when you say stepping out, what do you mean? Like with because you're an energy practitioner, right?
I'm a Reiki energy healer. I do light language. I've been doing that since 1993. And I've had clients here and there over the years, but I've just had a lot of stuff to do internally. Yeah. Guidance said, so not yet.
I think that's called surrender.
Yeah.
Whatever comes.
I mean, a lot of surrender, especially this last year.
Right. So like when you say stepping out, every time you stepped out, in what way was that? Like where you just told more people about what was going on with you?
Yeah, I would share on Facebook every once in a while, and just expressing that way in the friends. I don't have much of a community here in southeastern Wisconsin. It's a very Republican area. So it's like I'm really in the boonies, to say, spiritually here. Whereas I used to live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and there, I mean, geez, every day was an activity. And I even used to work for a conference company. We put on conferences about consciousness, science and consciousness, business and consciousness, sacred sexuality, enlightenment, sound
when
healing.
Was this? How long ago was this?
I worked there from 2001, I think, until my boss died in 2008. So I guess 7 years, yeah.
Wow. So
It's
what type
amazing
of stuff
work.
did y'all put? What type of stuff did y'all put out on sacred sexuality?
Well, we had leading edge presenters that came from all over the world, and there was even some nudity in some of the the
What do
workshops,
you
but
mean?
meaning there was a
What?
demonstration once about
What kind of demonstration? Wait a minute. Hang on a second. We're, in the spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and courageous, depending on what we're talking about or what we're doing.
uh
There won't be any nudity. That's the one thing.
no,
But so you, okay.
it shocked me as much as because I was one of the, the people that put the conferences together. We weren't expecting that, and it was one of the presenters had a man disrobe. She showed how to pleasure him.
That's not sacred sexuality. That's porn, man. That's
No, but
straight up porn.
it's hard to explain. It was so long ago. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
embarrassed.
I'm
I'm really
sorry.
embarrassed now.
No, don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed at all. I, I, I've been there, done that. Just like, that's funny though. It's a funny story. So now you started doing light language in '93.
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
1993. I was working with a metaphysical group in Madison, Wisconsin, and I mean, I was really a newbie. I had become a Reiki master earlier that summer, and so it was August when I started working with this group, and I everyone had been on their journey for like 20 years before me, and they knew all these catchphrases and interesting things to talk about, and I just sat there going, I have no idea what they're talking about. So one day when they all went out for lunch together, I laid on the floor. Basically, I pronated on the floor face down, and I'm like, okay, God, I have no idea what's going on. Please use me. I'd like to be in service. And not too long after that, there was just three of us one day. There was a group of about 12 of us normally. And one day, three of us were doing this meditation, and the leader of the meditation was talking about our chakras and lotuses in the chakras. And I didn't know what she was really talking about. I mean, I kind of knew what chakras were, because of the Reiki, but the lotus thing was all new to me. So I just sat there going, God, I hope they don't know how clueless I am to what they're doing. And all of a sudden, wham, this energy just like hit me on the chest, like almost like the hand of God pushed me back on the floor on my back, and my legs were still in the lotus position. And I just started laughing. And the woman leading the meditation said, what happened? I said, I'm not really sure. And then she's like, well, where'd you go? And I'm like, I'm not really sure. And all of a sudden she kept asking me questions. I said, all I know is this is pure, sweet, simple love. And I was just waves and waves and waves of ecstasy and bliss were going through me. And she started getting a contact high from me. And this went on. So we went back to one of their houses later that night, and I just couldn't stop laughing, and everything was total bliss for me. I mean, I looked down at my jeans one point, and they looked literally like they were breathing because I could see the energy pulsing. The walls were moving, the energy was pulsing, and I just felt extreme joy and love for every being. It didn't matter what they had done. It's like I had no vision for other than every being on the planet, past or present, was pure love. And the third woman got so upset. She's like, if you guys don't stop this, I'm going to hit you. And she stormed off. But the one
So
leading the meditation stayed with me. And
so this was your wake up experience.
that was
This-
I mean, I was always partially awake, throughout my childhood and young adult and stuff. But that was like that's what threw me over the edge. My life completely changed. Shortly after that, I got rid of almost everything I owned, and I lived out of one suitcase, traveling around the US and following guidance to where I'm supposed to go next. And it was just, I felt like I was on mission. Okay, I've been given
Wow.
my assignment.
a
And
lot of people a lot of people could relate to that right now,
yeah,
including myself. But I don't think very many people could have related to it in 1993, in the 90s. I
no,
mean, I
in
know
fact,
I know I mean, I've talked to a lot of people on this show, and there are a lot of people, like, I can think of several people. I won't name names, but in the early '90s, they had wake up experiences, they had visitations, they had all kinds of stuff happening. But most of them that I can recall spent 8, 10 years in their own world before anything like that started happening, and they took off on their own.
Hmm.
But you don't hear about it very much.
No, and it wasn't short. It was shortly after that that Mother Mary started coming to me, and the one that was leading the meditation, she would always channel her for me because at that point I couldn't hear anyone outside of me, and she told me all these things, and she kept just being around me, and she'd call me Bright Heart all the time, and then shortly after that, one day I was one night during the group, and there was only three of us in this one room, and I heard, stand up, face east, open up your arms and open up your mouth. You're going to do magic. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And I was being a good student. So I'm like, okay, I'll do what I'm being guided to do. And all of a sudden, I started speaking and singing in light language. Of course, back then, no one knew what that was called. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where it was coming from. And but it's just like it just was moving through me. I started dreaming it. I started, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be speaking it out loud. It was just waves and waves of downloads. And
What did people do when you did that?
I got a lot of
How-
stares like, okay.
you are you're a warrior. You've been
And
you are a warrior.
I got
Uh,
attacked a lot too. I mean, there was a lot of people that thought I was doing black magic and evil, and
yeah,
for a while I shut it down for about a year because I was like, well, I don't know what it is. And
yeah,
I mean, I didn't know what it was until around 2006 because no
yeah.
one else was talking it. I had only met one other woman that did it, and hers was so different from mine, so guttural and almost harsh sounding that I didn't even know we were doing the same thing.
Mm.
And she said she was like channeling the Arcturians or something, and I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't even know what that meant back
S-
then.
So yeah, this is good. So when you hit the road, you went by yourself mostly, or what?
Yeah, a couple times I was with other people, but here and there I was on my own. I like, okay, go to St. Louis. You have an assignment, and I was leading some
Like
workshops with a
like
couple
was
other
it?
people.
Oh,
Huh?
okay. So like grid work, but you were doing
Oh
stuff like
yeah, I was doing grid. I've been doing
presentation.
grid work. I mean, I've moved over 100 times because I've been guided to move.
So
And
let me ask you this: being on the road like that, doing it when nobody else was doing it, okay? No social media support because that really
that's
didn't
right.
blow up till probably 2012, give or take a year. But anyway, did you and you're having this communion, this connection with
Hmm.
these higher aspects. We'll get into that later because I'd love to see your perspective on some things. And so, how did you deal, or did you have to deal with, like, what the hell am I doing? Like
Oh
finding
God, yeah.
yourself, no money, just in the middle of nowhere, crazy circumstances. How did you deal with that? Because you seem very balanced with all the stuff that you talked about.
Well, I was so much younger then, and I just seemed to trust. I mean, yeah, I'd go into fear now and then, but it was like, all right, I have to do this next, and I have to do this next. And I just was in so much more trust. And I looked like a loon to my family, and in fact, a lot of my family's disowned me.
Well, most of us here, I think all of us here look like loons to their family. I don't even. Uh, so when this came, when this happened, particularly with Mother Mary, I find this really interesting. So initially, I think what you said was that the lady, your friend, would channel for you,
Hmm.
basically, but
Yeah,
then
she would
you
tell me,
developed,
Mary's around you right now, and then
yeah.
tell me what she
So
was
then
saying to me.
you started to go direct, right? You started to go direct with Mother Mary.
Yeah,
Is
eventually
that
it,
what you
it
were?
took a while for me to
Yeah.
actually trust what I was hearing because I didn't trust
So
it at first.
uh, so what was that like for you? I mean, like your friend, because I think a lot of people, I can relate to that. Okay, through my early, especially the early part of my journey, because most everything, well, not most everything, but a lot of stuff came in through other people. They would just come
Hmm.
in, mediums or psychics. So, hey, I've got a message for you, or I'd hang out with one for a while, or whatever the case was. But like, so for you, you were having it come in. You trusted that. How did that shift occur to where you started to trust yourself? Did you see anything? Did you hear words? I mean, did the
Well,
images
it
come
was
in stronger?
in 1996. I woke up one night in the middle of the night and I saw Mother Mary. I mean, with my physical eyes standing over me
Mm.
and blessing me. And I mean, it made me cry because her energy is just so beautiful. It's so soft and very
Right.
feminine. And I knew without a doubt I wasn't crazy. I'd really seen her. But, it's been like such a journey with the trusting. It's grown deeper and deeper and deeper. It's not like this sudden, like, boom, I trusted. It's
Yeah.
just grown deeper over the years. And I have a lot of dream visions. I have day visions when I'm just out and all of a sudden, boom, I'll see something. And it's my getting my mind and my ego out of the way and like going, oh, this this is real, and
Yeah.
and trusting that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and
I know
stop
that's,
the voices of doubt, those voices of
yeah.
like
It's weird
no.
because I can relate to what you're saying, because, and I would like try to explain it this way. Like if I'm laying down and connecting, like Morgan and I connect every night, and I've got to that point where what you're just talking about, where you quieten the ego and it goes away, and there's still a little questioning, because then you find yourself in this space,
Hmm.
and the mind wants to go, wow, this is real. But you can't even stay with it. You can't even stay with that. I find, because this just happened to me like 2 nights ago, and I went, wow, this is real. And I thought, oh, you got to shut that voice up. And I was able to sustain a little bit longer in that space and have like
Hmm.
a dimensional experience, because that part of the voice went away too.
Hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
Oh yeah,
yeah, I get
absolutely.
what you're saying. And
Well,
I think a
with
lot
the
of people are starting to experience this. Yeah.
yeah. Well, with the light language, what made me finally trust that, after having so many people channel and going, oh, you're saying this and you're doing this, and everything was different. Everyone read differently. So what finally made me trust is just knowing this. What did I feel when I was doing it? And all that I would feel is pure love. And
Mm.
so to me, I didn't have the term light language yet. I just like, I'm channeling love directly. That's all I knew.
Mm. And how has your experience been, or your involvement been, or understanding, or whatever you want to call it? A lot of people, when they first wake up and really start to click, they are dealing with a Mother Mary, or a Kuan Yin, or a Jesus, or a galactics, or
Hmm.
dragons, or whatever. And some people talk about how, as time goes on, they embody that.
Right.
Now, I've seen both. There's nothing wrong or right, but in your experience, do you still, or is it still out there, or is it becoming, or is it one voice, or do you
It's
still deal
embodied
with
now.
different? It's
It's embodied
embodied.
now. So for a while in like 96, I was channeling a being named Fatima. And I did it only for like 6 to 9 months. And I stopped it because everyone just wanted fortune telling. And I just wasn't interested. And then it was like 2014, all of a sudden I was getting like channel again. So I started channeling, and what came through me was the cosmic Sophia. Now I didn't know that term back then, but I know now that was the cosmic Sophia. And literally, since you asked me to be on the show this last time, the cosmic Sophia has now handed me over to my higher self. And so it's just me and the higher self now. And
Wow,
probably has
let's
been for a while, but I was too afraid to admit that to myself.
yeah. All right, this is cool. I love the way all these things connect. Yesterday, Mary Rodwell was on, and she was
Hmm.
talking about, and she's a hypnotherapist,
Right.
on steroids. I mean, up here, I would call an energy practitioner,
Uh-huh.
using that as a foundation. But anyway, she was talking about how within herself and other people, she had seen an aspect come in and move the human to the side, basically, right?
Mm.
Probably, maybe that's how you felt when that light language thing hit, and it just like, this is going down, and the human doesn't even know what's going down.
Hmm.
Anyway, what I'm getting at is that, even in a situation like that, or even in a situation like you just described with Cosmic Sophia, all right, do you feel do you ever feel that? Do you ever feel like an aspect comes in and just kind of moves your human to the side?
Um, I'm not sure. It's like
I mean, like when you
I
do,
know that
like when
I'm
you,
not going anywhere, but
yeah,
there's definitely an energy shift that happens. And it it used to take a long time to get into it. Now it's just like instant and I just feel it. But it's not like I'm not there. I'm part
yeah,
of it.
yeah. Does it feel like the human aspect's watching something, or observing it versus,
I would say more the ego aspect. Yeah.
yeah.
The that sometimes going, oh my God, please don't say that, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because I think people are actually going through this.
oh
They're
yeah.
actually they're going through what you described in the 90s. They're going through, having the confidence and the trust in what they're hearing, because but we all know, to whatever level we've done this, that the more we engage it, the more it does grow, but it can only engage with, like you said, faith and trust.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of people going through this, so I think they can learn from someone like you. Do you I know kind of brought this up earlier, but do you work with people? Do you speak to groups still? You talked about presenting in the past.
I last year I was guided to do a Lemurian, like a group meditation, and I thought I was going to continue to do it, but as things happen in my world, things shift very quickly, and I found out 2 weeks after I did it that you're complete now. Move on. I'm like, all right. And I do host a monthly meditation at my house, and I
Mm,
mean, I call it meditation, but we, you know, we call in different energies and then we just share. And there's
mm.
like no one sitting there being the leader or anything. I do the light language a lot with it, and I sing and speak that. And but so far it's a very small group because Grant is partly
Yeah.
where I live.
Yeah, right. So, and another thing that's happening, Morgan and I talk about it, and I've brought it up to some people, and that's where you're having this two or more, and you're having a shared dimensional experience in
Uh-huh.
so many ways, including visual. All
Right.
right. Uh, and I wonder, and I asked somebody this the other day that has a small group like yours, but I wonder, like, in those experiences that where you have all these people in the same room and you are sharing the same intention,
Hmm.
uh, have you had some, have you had some pretty intense experiences, or anything that kind of stands out where everybody's just like going, wow?
You mean just me personally having the experience?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, like in the group that you get together with.
Well, in January last year, it ended up only being two of us one night, and it was actually kind of perfect. And I had this I was sick for quite a while. I had that viral infection that everyone was getting, and I had been saying like, why is it that I can't seem to get it out there, and blah 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 blah, like thinking I wasn't doing my work enough, that I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing enough. That was like I've been beating myself up with that for so long. And all of a sudden I heard, and how did I hear it? It came right out of my mouth, out even knowing I was going to say it, that I had completed everything that I came here to do. I
Hmm.
was so stunned that I sat there for a long time with my mouth just hanging open. And all of a sudden my jaw started shaking, like violently shaking, and all this release was happening in my body. And I started crying. It was just, and then the next week or two, I just sat and stared out the window like, well, if I've done everything I came here to do, what does that mean? I'm supposed to die? What the fuck? Oh, excuse me. And
You're
I,
good.
I, I'm still, I feel like integrating what I
Yeah.
was shown. And I shouldn't
How
say
long has it
last year.
been?
So what,
Since
11
January?
months? 11 months. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And
Sometimes
so,
it's
and
like I get the message, but I don't fully understand it. It's almost like I have to let it come into me more and more. And because so much of my understanding is not intellectual, it comes through the body, it comes through my emotions, it comes
yeah, yeah,
in a sensual way, even.
that's a very good point. I've never heard anybody actually describe it that way, or maybe I wasn't listening. But yeah, you know what? That's a very good point because this stuff is not coming in through the intellect.
Hmm.
It's not. It's all being transmitted in a non-intellect way. It's an intelligent way, as in infinite intelligence, but it's not like human intellect. And we spend a lot of time, which is understandable because that's where we're coming from, trying to figure it out from the intellect. But the truth
Hmm.
is, we all have to experience it ourselves. I don't care what anybody tells you. You can't get somewhere. You can have a door open for you, maybe, but you've got to experience it. And I think that validation and alignment feels like what you described, which is it's coming through. Not only is it coming through those channels, but the understanding's coming through those channels. And as for instance, uh, as a lot of people talked about this year, their body's really speaking to them now. So
Hmm.
that channel's becoming clearer, and the other bodies, so to speak, um, are coming in clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a
Yeah.
wealth of experience. You're a wealth of experience because
Oh, we've only
that's one.
touched on this much.
So okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this one. All right. So what are the two or three most profound dimensional or interdimensional or experiences you've had along the lines of a Mother Mary appearing at the end of your bed?
um, Actually, she wasn't at the end of my bed. She was standing right over my left shoulder and
Wow.
leaning over and looking right into my face. Well, in 1997, I started doing the Course in Miracles for a while. I did it on and off for a couple of years, and one day I put the book down and I said to Jesus at the time, now I call him Yeshua, but I said, "Okay, show me my life." And I got this instant download, and out of it, I wrote this little book, almost like a children's book, but for adults. And so it was written in this story of where I came from and how I was in the fog for a while, and then what was going to happen afterwards. So that's why I knew eventually I was going to be in this place having an interview like this with you, because he told me I was going to be doing stuff like this. And I kept going, okay, so when's it going to happen? When's it like, what am I doing something wrong? Because it's taken this many years for it to happen.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's another thing because everything you did, like from the 90s and people like you, things did take a long time. That reciprocation was slow in coming. That's why I asked you, did
mm-hmm.
you ever get just fed up? I used to have these come to Jesus meetings with the universe, I haven't done it in a while, but you know, but anyway, what I'm getting at is because you have that perspective and that journey, and now it's 2019, almost 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I bet without even asking that the reciprocation is from the actions and that you're putting out, the energy that you're putting out now is coming back much quicker, much
Definitely,
quicker.
especially the last couple weeks. Oh my God, so much has happened.
Mhm.
Actually, I don't even think it's 2 weeks. In a week and a half, I just am floored. I'm a little exhausted from it too. There's been so much that's happened. I had written a bunch of material for my second book 3 years ago, and all of a sudden I was like, put it together. So it's almost done. Um, it'll probably be done by the end of the week to get my second book up. And
Well,
it's basically about Heros and about
mm,
divine
you know,
masculine, divine feminine.
that's that's my wife's favorite subject,
Yeah.
Helioscomus.
And
So
it's all
so
about my
let's talk.
direct experiences with the divine beloved. And I don't mean a man, I mean the energy of love as the divine masculine and the divine feminine coming together inside me.
Give us
And
the footnotes.
the footnotes,
Give us, yeah,
well,
because you're gonna have to get used to talking about it because you're gonna be going on a book tour.
ah, um,
So,
well, the
but
footnotes
I
is
mean, okay.
they're all erotic poems but written.
Ah,
Most of them are
do you have
written
one?
in what, like
Do
I'm
you have one
talking.
handy?
Oh
Do you have one
shoot, no, I
handy?
don't.
You
If I
sure? Do you know one by heart? Can you give
I
us one
don't
by
know one
heart?
by heart, and they're on my computer, and the last week and a half, my computer is being weird. I mean, I get the spinning the wheel of death. It takes me 3 hours to do something that should take me 5 minutes.
Well, Mercury retrograde's almost over, so I think
Well,
maybe
when
that'll
it's over,
change
then
for
I
you.
can share it because they're not printed out yet.
Right.
Basically, I
So you,
downloaded like over 80 poems in 3 to 5 weeks. I can't remember, as I was going
yeah.
through very
So
intense experiences.
right. So it's the 2019 version of Solomon's Songs for Sophia from the Bible. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
an erotic uh, purity based uh,
Oh, yeah.
transmission
And,
of verse. I'd
and
love
some
to
of the
read it. Is it
poems
hot?
even,
Is it hot? Is it hot? Is it
yeah.
hot stuff?
So there's three parts to the book. The first part is definitely where I'm speaking to the beloved. And
50,
when I mean,
50
I,
shades, 50 shades of
yeah.
5D.
In fact, one
That's it.
section of it, my friend said, I think you need to do a separate book for this one because they're very erotic letters that I wrote to some men that I knew. But some of the poems almost sound kind of like Rumi poems. I'm not trying
Mhm.
to emulate Rumi. It's just when you're in
Yeah.
those ecstatic states of bliss and there's wave after wave of orgasm going through you, this is the way that I write them. This is the way it comes out of me. As if I'm being made love to by the divine beloved.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. That's really amazing. Now, do you have anything in the book where it describes it from like the human level? Like, this is what's happening in my body. That this is like, oh, I don't know how it goes, but like, say you lay down and you get to that point, you know what I'm talking about? Because you don't hear a lot about that.
Um, no, because they're written in, most of it's written in poetry, some is prose, but I hadn't even
Mm,
thought of that. I mean, in the
that's cool.
letters that I wrote to these men, it describes
Describes what?
my experience. Oh, actually, that's not true because one of the
Now
poems is
wait.
called "Soul on
Now
Fire."
now So, oh, I like that. I am soul. Now these letters to the men that are in the book, did you have Helios Gamos with those men?
Well, believe it or not, one of the men I never met in person. So all of this happened through phone calls
Etherically.
and yes,
Yeah.
I'd be on the phone and all of a sudden I'd be flat on my back as the energy would be going through
Yeah.
me. And the longest
Yeah.
experience I ever had lasted 8 hours. I wasn't on the phone with somebody, but I couldn't walk for 2 days after that because I must have had 500 orgasms. I'm so glad my son is not going to watch this.
Well, Morgan and I have talked about this. We had Helios Gamos. I mean, she downloaded that information for 15 years, 20 years. And so she already knew it. And so when we met, and we didn't see each other for a year and a half. In fact, I never talked to her on a camera for a year and a half. And so we engaged in Helios Gamos,
Hmm.
in the higher dimensions. And then we came together, and after a period of time, lo and behold, we realized there's this different. The words are going to be hard to come, but say a different sexual vibration, a different intimacy vibration in our relationship, and we're very aware, that there's a reason for that. And
Mm-hmm.
then one night, we put our hands together, and that started happening. What you're describing, just running through your body, both of us. And then we actually had a physical herioscamos, which was mind blowing. And that went on 4 hours, and
Oh,
we never
wow.
worked a sweat. There was no movement, very little movement. It was just insane. And we had a few other ones like that. And then, like you said, like so many things, you kind of got to like level off and let it all integrate. But we know the next step's coming. But I think this is a very important subject, not because of the eroticism or the sensationalism, but because of the power
Oh my God. Yeah.
that you become aware of, and the fact that that power can be fused into a creative birth of something. In
Yes.
fact,
Yes.
the interesting thing is, before that episode had that I was just telling you about, when we stumbled into it, you know, um, we had gotten our first and only home ever in Hawaii. And so when we went in, it was all a shambles, and we had to clean it up. But there was a book in there, and it was a Rumi book.
Oh, wow.
And
How
so
wonderful.
yeah, so she opened, how you just open a book to see and start reading.
Mm-hmm.
She opens it up and starts reading. And Rumi is talking about, it's prose, and he's talking about when two people lay together. He said, don't be fooled. When it doesn't matter who it is, when the two lay together, there's always a third energy birthed. And then he started to talk about the sacredness of it and the purity of it. And
Mm-hmm.
when it is held in that regard, it's its creation in its purest, finest form.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree.
Powerful subject, though, and I think
Oh,
more.
yeah.
I think it'll be talked. It'll be talked about more and more and more. But people are going to have to get past the 3D sexual aspect of it.
Oh,
And
God, yes.
I'd have never said that 2 years ago, although I had a woman telling me this for 4 years. But I'm living proof of it, and I'm a man, you know. So all of that old conceptual, or really programming, everything that we know from the past goes. It's
Mm-hmm.
gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone. It's like you were talking about, the connecting, and how, the ego would start talking or whatever, and kind of shut it down or slow it down. It's the same thing in true intimacy. Those patterns start coming in, it diminishes everything. Where
Mm-hmm.
does it go? I have no idea, but what little I've seen, and what I'm sure you can relate to, is pretty freaking off planet. Actually, it's off universe, isn't
Oh, yeah.
it?
Yeah, definitely off universe. It's like my experience is that when I'm in that higher state of divine love, and it's flowing through me so strongly, and I'm not in the mind anymore. You can't be in the mind when you're in that space. Totally in the heart. It's just I see the planets inside me. I see the universe in me. The galaxies are in me. I am everything and nothing at one
Yeah,
time. I
yeah,
am pure
yeah,
love, and that's all there is.
yeah, yeah. And there's something about, because we're in the physical, and everything is about the integration, about integration, be it dark and light, or, whatever, masculine, feminine, but non-physical and physical. And the fact that we're creators, and we're actually this bringing this duality to this place, that it has a physical aspect,
Hmm.
and that's mind blowing. Uh, I've seen, like you're talking about, what you see and feel. I've seen light language on her. Okay, I've seen other things,
Hmm.
like I would only describe as ancient akashic. Uh, the light language is incredible. It's like, just, it glows in the dark on her back. I mean, it's just incredible. So
Yeah.
there's something going on with that physical representation, or manifestation, I should say, or materialization of that Helioscamos in the ethers. That
Hmm.
is, I don't know, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, it's probably bringing a newfound expression that the universe has never seen, because it does involve the physical matter.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. and so much
So
more.
you have, yeah. I like that what you said about your first book. It's a children's book, but it's for adults. That's really, I think, how we need to look at this thing now, especially with all
Yeah.
these children bringing
That
out
one I
all
never
bringing in.
published it though.
Huh? You
My
didn't.
second book is called When Love Whispers in Your Ear. That one, it's up on PayHip. I didn't put it on Amazon, but
Mm, cool.
that's it's written in a poetic style, but it's prose. And
So
there are,
so you go ahead. Go ahead.
that is more about my, I used to sit in satsang a lot with some, enlightened people. And so it's more my experience of it's like my beginning experience of sitting with this divine love and what it feels like. And my experience is a knowing of who we all are, when we get past all the stories and everything,
Mm.
all the conditionings
So
that we've had, and just
so
seeing the
did you
pure
say
love.
Satnam? Is that what you said?
Satsang.
Did-
It's Satsang. It means gathering in truth.
I've heard. Okay. So yeah, because I've heard of that word too. I'm not that bad of a light worker. I'm pretty bad though. So what is that? So you that's a lot like the group that you have come over to your place. I mean, so you have like-minded people with like intentions sitting in a space. Now, is the satsang silence? Is it
It can be. I mean, some of the satsangs I sat in, it would usually start in silence, and then people would, bring to whatever is on their mind that they needed to basically get off their backs. I'm not talking about this the right way, but I'm having a hard time explaining it because it's so not in the
so
mind. It's
so
about
would
sitting
be
with the beloved. You're sitting with the divine. You're sitting with the energy of that, and
so like
anything that's
people like
keeping you from knowing it. That
okay. S- So, I mean, it could be somebody saying, I'm confessing my sins. It could be somebody else jumps into light language. It could be somebody else say, I've got a story to tell. I mean, or it could just be silence. It's what the energy dictates.
Well, I don't know if people would have accepted light language back then, but they might now.
Oh, I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would. We had a little get together, soul gathering in Sedona,
Hmm.
and Romeo Barron came down. He does light language,
I know, I saw
and
that.
he was not. You see that? Did you see where? So I'm up there on the stage, and Morgan sends me a note. It's like it would be cool to get Romeo and Shakina up there to do light language freestyle. I'm
Yeah,
like, all right. So,
yeah.
so they got up there, and that's what I was thinking about. I was filming it with my phone, and I was like, man, this is really cool. A room full of people, 40 people, listening to light language freestyle. And then this chick came up, really cool lady, came up to me and she's like, I want to go up there. I'm like, well, I don't know, like I didn't know what to do. And you know what she did? She's like, I'm going to do it anyway. She jumped up there, started doing light language, and all three of them were doing it. So it
Hmm.
was really cool, but I was just kind of blown away by the fact that, here I am in this environment. How cool is that?
Yeah.
World's changing. So what's it look like from your perspective, waking up in the early 90s and the light language coming in the early 90s and all the experiences you had and the traveling, the 100 different moves? I'm sure you always had a sense of the or even intel on the collective level of awareness. What's it been like for you to actually watch it evolve and change, what I would guess, even from your eyes, very rapidly?
Well, it doesn't seem like it was rapid in the beginning, but now it seems rapid. It's been really difficult at times because I've been alone a lot in this and not having a lot of people to share it with and hiding out at first, There was only a handful of people that knew what I did because of the response sometimes that I got, especially someone saying, you're doing evil, you're cursing me or something, and
Oh, you
be,
use F bombs when you do your work too, huh?
No,
I'm
meaning
just,
that people are saying I was
I
cursing them
know,
with
I
doing
know,
light language.
I
No,
know. I'm
yes, I
messing with you.
swear, I admit it.
I do too. I have no problem with it. I just try to keep it to a minimum because I don't want to get too many complaints. I'll
It's
get
all
so
love
many.
in the end anyhow. It doesn't matter what you call it.
That's right. That's exactly right. So after all you've been through, I couldn't help but whenever you were telling the story about when you had that experience and you were in Lotus, and that was kind of your wake up, I guess, for the body anyway.
Hmm.
And you were laughing the whole time. I just had this kind of this image in my head of a bunch of Tibetans coming to find you saying we found the new laughing Buddha, you know. But what I'm getting at is, and that was a very profound experience that you described, and I'm sure your experience has been very, very comprehensive. Uh, where does it come down to? Where does it level off? And I'm not trying to advocate or give you a leading question or leading answer. I say I'm soul. The human is
Hmm.
the hero. I don't have the level of experience you have with all that stuff up there. I don't think, but I've had enough, and with everything else that we've all gone through, um, and sometimes I just got to laugh about it. I just got to laugh about the whole thing, and I don't know. To me, that brings me a lot of peace. But so, where are you at with it? Do you get off balance, at all, or do you are
Oh
you is it pretty
God,
balanced
yes.
ride for you? Thank God. Okay, I should have just cut that question down to like three words.
I said,
But
whoops,
I mean,
upside my head. I said, whoops, upside my head.
okay, and and
That's from an
and
old
and
rap
so
song.
I know that song. I'm a, who you think you're talking to? Anyway, so like Galactics, Star Family. Do you
I'm sorry.
have much the Galactics, Star
Uh-huh.
Families? Um, do you have much of a connection with those types of energies, or have you in your journey?
For the last year, when I do the meditations, I call them in, and like before I started tonight, about a half an hour, I sat down and I called in my star family and my Lemurian family and my Elven family. I called in the dragons and the archangels, you name it. I call them all in, and I work with dragon energy a lot, and in fact had one come through me once years ago speaking like I was the dragon. I
Yeah,
stood like I was a dragon. I felt like I was 12 feet tall.
you probably looked like one.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah,
it was
I've
just,
told this.
to me, they were pure love beings. And I just, so anyhow, I think I got off track of what you asked me.
It's okay. I like
I
this
can't
kind
remember
of.
what you asked me
Well,
now.
now, now I know why I'm talking to you today because it's probably I think six of them in the room last night. Six dragons and
Hmm.
two outside, outside the window. We've had a lot of dragon experiences going back to about a year ago, and we've had them together, including merging.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
it's a very powerful energy, and it's a very prominent energy for the last year. People talking about it, having pretty in-depth experiences, with that energy. Talking to God, what was that lady's name I told you was on yesterday? I'm bad with names. Anyway, she was talking about it being, like everything being in us,
Hmm.
just hasn't been opened or activated, but it seems like it's being activated now. If you're hearing about it and seeing people talk about it and write posts about it, and that's got to be a good thing because that dragon energy is like the purest love I've ever felt. It's like
Hmm.
Mother Mary love, but it's also like that Kali energy. Like we're not taking any crap.
Oh
It's
yeah.
time to clean out the closet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mary Rodwell. Thank you,
Yeah.
Morgan.
Yeah.
Mary Rodwell.
Well,
Very
I
interesting
don't know if you
lady.
remember, I sent you a private message once. Then I had a vision that you in a previous lifetime were the dragon rider, that you were one with them. You rode on their backs. And I don't remember everything I wrote. That was, gosh, it was close to a year ago I sent that.
I remember that. Yeah, that's when it started happening. And I got a few things came in like that, but I do remember that. Um, yeah, it's, I don't know how that, I don't know. To me, it's really metaphoric, but I like the way, like Mary explained it yesterday, that energy's being activated in you basically. And the reason I think it's very important is because what I've picked up, not just from myself, but what I've kind of picked up from others, is like the dragon energy is like some serious creation energy. Like that's like,
Yes.
they're like ancient masters of creation. And
Before all
and I think
humans.
that's a good, yeah, I think that's a good sign for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Over the years, the different memories I've had, like I know that I was in Lemuria, that I lived there before it ever disappeared. And well, most of it disappeared anyhow. I know that I'm from Venus. I know that I'm from Lyra, but I can't seem to focus on that because it just almost gets me too much in my head. And in the
Yeah.
end, what does it matter where I'm from?
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's all in me. So
Yeah.
it's, you know, even if it was thousands of lifetimes ago, it's in me.
See, you came back and answered the question.
Oh, did I? Okay.
that, that, that was the question. That was funny. That was really funny. That was really funny. No, well, that was the question, and you're right, because you can have people say, "Oh, this is my lineage." My head would go, is that your soul lineage?"
Hmm.
But or are you just tapping into the big sea of soul soup? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I mean, I realized, I don't know, a few months ago, I don't know when I realized it, that hanging on to that stuff is no different than hanging on to a past trauma. you know
That's right.
Uh, you
Yeah.
know that's what I was asking you, is like, where is Esme, the human, divine human? Because I know she's aligned and embodied, and does it feel human? Do you feel like your higher self? I mean, obviously you have human moments, because you said whatever you said a minute ago about let it bounce off
Oh,
your head.
who doesn't have human moments? They're lying if they say they don't. As long as you're in this body and you have this body, conditioning is going to arise. I don't care who you are,
Mm,
it's going to arise. Even if it's from another lifetime, if it's from this earlier part of this lifetime, if it's from last week, conditioning
mm.
arises and you have to deal with it.
You call
And
it conditioning.
uh-huh.
Is that like trigger? Like, do you get triggered?
Oh God.
What do
Yeah,
you
that's
do
why I
when you?
said, who
What do you do?
doesn't?
Yeah, yeah. I just want to double check. No, but so what do you do when you get triggered, like on a personal level?
um, Sometimes I just get mad and I curse and have a temper tantrum. And other times I have to go off and be by myself and do some deep breathing and meditate and going, like what's going on? Like, why am I getting so upset here?
Do you ever have to no, I think this is good information, because I think a lot of people are dealing with this. Do you ever have to say you're sorry to people, like if you go
Oh
off on
yeah,
somebody?
of course,
Yeah.
of
I
course.
think that's a big, I think that's a big deal. I really do. There's a whole thing about, healing's not real. There's nothing to be sorry about, but there's some power. And I'm not saying for the person that you may have offended, but there's some power like from an integrity standpoint, in going to someone and saying, "I'm sorry," because these are we're in a territory now where these are the "I'm sorries" that we never wanted to say. Like,
Hmm.
these are the sorries that get hurt your pride. These are the sorries that, hey, they need to say they're sorry too. Those kind of sorries. Where you really do have attachment and
Hmm.
judgment. So I don't
And
know
if
why I got
people
off on
can't
that one. Did I?
hear
Did
the
I?
apology, sometimes you just have to do it, in silence and send it to their soul. Just
Yeah.
align with them and say, I'm sorry. Because sometimes people
Yeah.
can't hear it in the physical or they won't accept it.
Very cool. Very cool, sister here. Very cool. Very, very nice sour. I really enjoyed it. So your new book's going to be done Friday, and it's called Helioscama, or it's about Helioscamas.
No, it's actually
You have
called
a little
Soul
bit.
on Fire.
Oh, Soul on Fire. Soul on Fire. Right on. Yeah, yeah. We should get together again. You know, if you're up to it in a few weeks
Hmm.
or whatever, and we can talk about some different things. You got a pretty good, pretty good, you know, level of experience, a lot more than most people.
Yeah, I guess I do. Because sometimes I'll hear your
Mm.
interviews and I'm like, oh yeah, I did that a long time ago.
Right. I levitated back in '02. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So thank you.
oh,
Thank you
you're
so
welcome.
much for sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence and for all the work you've done in 26 years
Yeah, 26
with
years.
no notoriety and probably had a lot of rotten tomatoes thrown at you.
Oh
But
my
you know,
God.
to you and
You have no
people,
idea.
I'm sure you did. They're still coming. But anyway, all right. Well, you take care. And thank you,
You too.
everybody. We're going to be back in 30 minutes with Yvonnya from Tasmania. She's always fun. Take care. Peace out.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.